up, everybody? It's your favorite appetite's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Fanstoys Spoiler, or as the French say, Fanstoys Spoiler. I got this from the toy guy. Great dude to do business with. Those that know. Those that don't know, get familiar. Link is in the description. I've got more good news. He only comes with 2 accessories, which is a nice break from the MP44 that we just recently looked at. So with that being said, let's take a look at him. He comes with one, I hope they don't repaint me and put me out as a limited release in 18 months face. It is done well though. It's painted, both the face and the eyes, and an awfully dramatic expression if that is your thing. And he comes with his gun. Painted metallic blue, decent enough sculpt, a little simplistic for my taste, but has enough sculpted detail I think to get by, especially that little bit there. You just, pull the lever back, you know what I mean? Let her rip. And he's gonna hold that just fine in the typical Masterpiece style by plugging into the hand. The gun will plug into car mode using that little hole right there, and you can use that same system in bot mode as well. Gimmick wise, the headlights will raise up or down, and the car doors will be up or down. And with that, we can talk about the figure. And this thing is painted beautifully. Red paint on the face, metallic purple on the eyes, metallic blue on the head. You have head articulation, of course. It's on a hinge swivel, so you can get up to there, which is a good range, and a bit down, which is nice, and the swivel. No issues. For the chest, we have silver paint, metallic blue paint, white paint, plus the translucent bit in the middle. Beautiful. Waist swivel. It goes all the way around, I guess, yeah. And ab crunch. No issues there. It is a little tight the first time you do it, but just kind of believe in the force, trust the force, do it, and after that you should be fine. For the shoulders, we have a universal joint. That's gonna get you out to 90 degrees. We got the tires, and a soft ratchet gets you all the way around. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbow. That can plug in a little tighter there. Wrist swivel. Oh, wrist swivel. Thumb is on a ball peg. The fingers are individually articulated at pin knuckles at the base knuckle and then the secondary knuckle, which I think is fine. Good for this. And you get a little bit of up and down in the wrist there, but not much, but a little bit. Same for the other side. Hip skirts, they'll fold up. 2 exposed universals, tensioned out to the side. For less than the full Van Damme. But while we're on the subject, you don't I don't say that to say that the it's not fine, that the articulation doesn't work. You're probably never going to put him in that pose. It's just something we say to express the full range, but it does not have the full range. And ratcheted back and forth, but they are an inconsistent ratchet. And you don't get the full Monty there either, but I think more than enough. You get a thigh swivel built around the universal, which I think is optimal. You get the silver paint, white paint on the thighs themselves. You get a single hinge knee that's not ratcheted, which is bizarre, but that's that's the range you get, which is decent. It's just I expect a little bit more, honestly, in that regard from them. Metallic blue paint on the lower legs, and car stuff's all painted on the side. You have the feet, and you get an ankle tilt up. Double hinges, and an ankle tilt down, and a pretty significant rocker. There are some things we got to talk about with this guy, though, right? We have to talk about a couple of things. For one, let me talk to you about some aesthetic issues I have. The space between the foot and the shin is a bit unsightly to me. It's jarring, and it's more jarring than what most people pointed out, which was how skinny he is. But here's the thing. It's misleading. He's not all that skinny. The white doesn't show up against a lot of backgrounds. The problem is he's got an acetal. That's what looks out of whack. His back and the backpack and all that, that's fine. And in hand, you'll notice, won't bother you at all. But, this guy can squeeze himself into an old 80s pair of Jordache, if you know what I'm saying. Doesn't even need to lay on the bed to do so, if you catch my drift. And that's what is kind of off-putting about it. I'm gonna get the DX9 Wild Rider and have a bit more of a discussion. I had this on Patreon recently, and I think it's worth going over here as well. Stand by. This will kind of act as a twofer because we can get a size comparison as well. But if you look at the proportions of Wild Rider, if you look at where the chest ends, the abdomen, it's lower than the breakdown. Breakdown ends up here. Pelvis higher than the Wild Rider as well. Arms, they're lower, they're shorter rather. Thighs on the Wild Rider are lower. Where the thigh starts is lower. So I say all that to say this. One of the things that presents itself as a problem with the Wild Rider are the proportions and how the proportions correlate to the thinness of the bot. Fanstoys does consistently nail the proportions. It's one of their strengths. It often goes overlooked because their sculpt work and paint work kind of take the front seat. But one of the things that lends itself to its positive presentation overall are how well they consistently nail the proportions. Now, when we look at them from the side, you can see that the torso and abdomen area, and I think his arm is spreading that out a bit, but you can see that the torso and the abdomen area of the breakdown is far thicker than that of the Wild Rider. However, they both suffer from long back disease, where they have no butt. And I'll be honest with you, one of the things that I found off-putting once he was in hand, more so than the thinness of his abdomen torso area, was the thinness of his bicep area, because that is something that actually looks out of proportion to me, whereas this one looks much fuller, you know? And we're only kind of spending so much time on this because it has become such a hot button. But the problems with this guy in terms of thinness are not from here up. They're from here to here. That's what's off-putting. On this guy, it's pretty much the whole way. Hope that makes some sense. Continuing on our size comparison path, there he is with the DX9 and the X-Transbots. Now, I feel like the DX9 nailed this guy a lot more than they did their Wild Rider, but if you look at the proportions, we still see that Fanstoys kind of nails it, you know, a bit better. But I think that that one looks far superior to the Wild Rider, and I've been saying that since day one. And this guy's proportions and all look great as well. But looking at all three of them here, it certainly looks like mom and dad taking their kid to work day, you know what I mean? But that's a matter of scale and what you want for your combine mode and blah, 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 blah. I feel like we beat that dead horse to death even more. So let's do a couple more size comparisons while we're on the topic. There he is with their Motormaster. That looks fantastic to me. There he is with the Seeker and with MMC's Vortex, and I gotta say, I'm liking this figure more and more every day. If they would have painted that figure, we'd have a knockout unit. Okay, so let's get him transformed. The one thing I wanted to talk about, I don't know if we did a good back shot, so to speak, of this guy, but I'll tell you what irritates me are these two panels that stick out and don't really have like a proper place to go. They just sort of lay up against the tires here, and I guess you pose them and manipulate them, they all seem to come out of sorts, as it were. So you have to disconnect the back, pull the front forward, fold the head in. On the underside, flip out the windshield once, and then extend this middle section and get that all in alignment. Clean these up, clean these up, clean the chest up, clean these side panels up. I'm cutting this in because otherwise you'll get yourself in a pickle like I did. You'll see for the rest of this review that I have these panels folded, but they sit off at about 45 degrees. The instructions make it clear that you have to clear the shoulders here, but you also have to clear this white bar. And in order to do so, you kind of have to have it just at the right angle with there. That's what you want. You see how close it is up against the head? And it's just a matter of having it in the right place, and you'll have it perfect. Once you have it here, you're good to go, but you'll see in the rest of the review that I don't, and then I run into problems later. But you just have to have the top part and the bottom part close enough to clear it, as well as the shoulders up, and then you'll be in a good spot. Wrap the fender around the tire so that it sits appropriately. You're gonna do that on both sides. With the fingers straight, open up this panel and fold the fingers down onto the underside, and then you can close that panel back up. And you're gonna wanna do that on both sides. Raise the butt flaps, raise this entire front piece, and then spin 180 below the waist swivel, and it's tight. And you can see it's grinding paint off right there too. So that's a bit of a bummer, but cost of doing business when you got a fully painted figure, right? Move these side pieces down, and then you have to bend these up. And I think it's kind of become common knowledge now that you gotta loosen this screw a bit in order to do so. So that's not gonna do it, is it? So that was about one turn. Oh, there we go. And I figured it was worthwhile showing it on camera. Okay, so now they're both down. These flaps down, this flap down. For the legs, we're gonna go piece by piece. So you have to unconnect this piece here. Take this section, I'm sorry, I just wanna get you a clear shot of it. Fold it around and back so that you have an L shaped on the opposite direction. Straighten the foot, unpeg that white section right there from the blue piece. And it's a little challenging to do just because you don't have much room to get your leverage. But there it is. Fold the white section down, fold the small blue section up, and fold the tire around to the front of the vehicle, or the side of the vehicle, I suppose, so that it will make sense as an automobile. Whoa, there it is. So now we need to get this red piece out of the way. We need to tuck this piece up in this sort of cavity, and then we have to bend around, the car around the leg. But in order to do so, we need to make sure that this piece here stays relatively straight, which is not really that big of a deal. As you can see, just a little bit of technique. Boom. Make sure the front part is clean. Just orient the red part of the hood that you know is supposed to be there and smush it down until it's nice and straight. That'll give you good alignment. To finish securing the alignment, make sure that this blue piece that we folded at an angle sits up tight, and that'll sit all nice and snug. Now you want to roll the foot over so that that sits nice and snug, and then you can bring this whole piece over and tab it in. Let's do it again. So down, bring this around to the other side, straighten the foot, make sure that this part here disconnects, extend the white part, fold up the blue part, take the wheel around so that it sits appropriately for the vehicle. And then you want to make sure that this piece is going to slide up in there, which is really kind of the tricky part. It has to go around that section. And let's see if we can't do it. And we got to make sure that that stays there. See, and we already came out. But let's just roll with it. Make sure this red piece stays out of your way. There we go. There it is. But our white piece didn't stay straight. There it is. It's just a matter of making sure that everything sits right and tucks away properly. Rotate your hood so that it is in the correct kind of configuration, and then fold the foot in and wrap that around, and just make sure it all lines up. And then you want to connect all of this and just play with it, so to speak. There's plenty of tabs and everything else, and they've all got to kind of line up properly. Just take the time and make sure it all sits together straight. Like you see, I got to clean up all of this, so I'm going to do that right now. Now your arms. So this piece rocks down here, and you can see how it's going to form up. Get your arm situated. So you're going to turn at the bicep. You want this part obviously to line up, and then that'll all tab in accordingly. So if you line this up the best you can here. It's hard to see what I'm doing exactly. Get the shoulder piece down and behind the brake lights, and then rotate your forearm around but you got to make sure that you have this piece in first. You have to make sure that your fender is situated first or it won't go. And I'll get it cleaned up, but that's kind of how you want it. You're gonna wanna do the same thing for the other side. Rotate the bicep, get this piece. So just try to align it right now the best you can, because it'll save you some grief later. And it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky, this part, for whatever reason. There, that's it. Once you have that, manipulate the shoulder so that you get this piece in first, and then this piece will all tuck around and plug in. There. Sheesh. Got her. Make sure that your side pieces here are gonna clear this area. These two pegs go into those two holes. These two sections here go into this section here. Same for this side. And just, I think keeping the windows up is probably a good idea. And you just want it all to kind of come down and clear the spaces and get it all sorted. I'll clean this up and we have one more step. Last step. Done. And there it is. Rolls like a champ. Heavy. Heavy, 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 which I have to say, we had to talk about. I was hoping that the limbs were going to be a little lighter. It would make me feel a little bit more kind of optimistic about combine mode. I don't know, man. Like, this is going to be a lot. If all the limbs are like this is going to be a lot of weight to support in that combine mode. It does make me a little nervous. They better have something super sturdy prepared. That being said, the car mode works effing great. It looks outstanding. Let me get you a size comparison. It's about the same size. Like, that's nuts. Because the bot is so much bigger, and somehow through some black magic they were able to kind of reduce it into this. I don't know how they did it. Like, even though I just did it, I don't know how they did it. It looks perfect. We got a couple, like, the paint and the black paint, little accents and such, but underneath, clean as a whistle. It's exceptional. Final thoughts wise, let's talk about the negatives. The transformation is actually pretty intuitive and pretty straightforward. However, somehow they do come up with a way to make it challenging. Sorting those chest flaps, lining up the front bumper, and getting the shoulders aligned properly all pose significant challenges and really shouldn't. Now, to be fair, it does create a super tight car mode. But I'm okay with a little crack here and there, so to speak, if it means I don't have to fight with something for 20 minutes to get it to work. And I'm over exaggerating, but you get the idea. Presentation wise, dude has no butt. If he followed some of the Instagram girls that I do, he learned how to get his squats on. It's not the most attractive thing in the world. I also wish there were some hardware in the knees and stronger hardware in the shoulders, something I'm not used to with Fanstoys. That's about it. Plenty of positives, sculpt, proportions, paint, articulation, all on the money, all hitting at about 100%. Cleans up beautiful in both modes, has a strong presence, good weight, super good feel in terms of materials and build. Pretty much everything you would expect when it comes to this company. The alt mode is probably perfect, probably the best looking Lamborghini we've gotten in a Transformers figure from the Masterpiece line, period. All the while maintaining a sharp and clean, fun and posable robot mode. Strong recommend from me, unless you want them to combine, in which case I can't speak on that yet, but one day. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, until next time, take care.